The Night Stalker. Prologue. The fear that lurks in the bustling city of Ravendale, whispers of a shadowy figure known as the Night Stalker, sent chills down the spines of its residents. This elusive predator was rumored to prey on the unsuspecting, striking fear into the hearts of those who dared to venture out after dark. The police were baffled, with no clues or evidence to lead them to the culprit. The streets emptied at night, leaving only the bravest or the most desperate to roam. Chapter 1. The investigation begins. Detective Sarah Mitchell was new to the city, having transferred from a quieter town in search of more challenging cases. She was assigned to the Night Stalker case and was determined to solve it. Her colleagues were skeptical, having been frustrated by dead ends for months. Undeterred, Sarah began her investigation by interviewing the few witnesses who had seen fleeting glimpses of the stalker. Chapter 2. The First Clues. Sarah pored over police reports and crime scene photos, searching for patterns. She discovered that the attacks always occurred near old, abandoned buildings. She decided to stake out these locations, hoping to catch a break. Night after night, she waited, her senses heightened by the oppressive darkness. The tension in the air was palpable, and Sarah could almost feel the presence of the Night Stalker. Chapter 3. The Unseen Threat. One night, while patrolling a particularly desolate part of town, Sarah heard a faint rustling behind her. She turned but saw nothing. The feeling of being watched intensified, and she quickened her pace. A shadow darted across her path, vanishing into an alleyway. Sarah followed, her heart pounding. She caught a glimpse of a tall, cloaked figure before it disappeared into the shadows. Determined, she continued her pursuit, but the figure was gone. Chapter 4. The Haunted Past. As Sarah delved deeper into the case, she uncovered an old newspaper article about a string of murders from 50 years ago. The killer, known as the Shadow, was never caught. Sarah began to suspect that the Night Stalker might be a copycat, or, even more chillingly, the same entity that had terrorized the city decades earlier. She visited the library and dug through archives, piecing together the history of the original murders. Chapter 5. The Connection. Sarah discovered that the old murders were centered around a notorious mansion on the outskirts of the city. The mansion, abandoned for years, was said to be cursed. It was believed that anyone who entered would be driven mad by the spirits of the victims. Sarah decided to investigate, despite the warnings. She felt a strong connection between the mansion and the Night Stalker, and was determined to uncover the truth. Chapter 6. The Mansion's Secrets. Armed with a flashlight and her determination, Sarah entered the mansion. The air was thick with the scent of mold and decay. As she explored, she found old photographs and letters, revealing the dark history of the house. It had once belonged to a wealthy family who practiced occult rituals. They had summoned a malevolent spirit, which they lost control of, leading to their gruesome deaths. Chapter 7. The Spirit's Warning. As Sarah ventured deeper into the mansion, she encountered the spirit of a young woman named Margaret, who had been one of the victims. Margaret revealed that the malevolent spirit had not been banished, but had remained dormant, feeding on the fear of the city. The Night Stalker was its latest incarnation, using a human host to continue its reign of terror. Margaret pleaded with Sarah to end the spirit's curse. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. Determined to put an end to the Night Stalker, Sarah set a trap. She lured the stalker to the mansion, using herself as bait. As the figure approached, she could see its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to come alive. Sarah recited an incantation she had found in the mansion's library, hoping to banish the spirit, once and for all. Chapter 9. The Battle of Wills. The spirit, furious at being challenged, attacked Sarah with a force she hadn't anticipated. She fought back with all her strength, using the incantation to weaken the spirit. The battle raged on, with the mansion's walls shaking and objects flying through the air. Sarah felt her energy draining but refused to give up. She focused on the faces of the victims, drawing strength from their plight. Chapter 10. The Banishing. With a final surge of willpower, Sarah completed the incantation. The spirit let out a deafening scream as it was pulled into the void. The mansion fell silent, and the oppressive darkness lifted. The Night Stalker, now just a man, lay unconscious on the floor. Sarah called for backup, and the man was taken into custody. The city of Ravendale was finally free from the terror that had plagued it. Epilogue. The Aftermath. Sarah became a local hero, celebrated for her bravery and determination. The mansion was sealed off, its dark secrets buried once more. The city slowly returned to normal, its residents no longer living in fear. Sarah, though forever changed by her experience, continued her work as a detective, knowing that the battle between light and darkness was never truly over. She carried the memory of Margaret and the victims with her, a reminder of the importance of facing one's fears and fighting for justice.